Xavi Simons. Xavi Simons. Tonight was exceptional. The link up him and Kudus had was very, very, very good. And that was the difference maker that we desperately needed. Thomas Frank has been criticised by myself and a lot of Tottenham fans this season for our attacking patterns of play. The final third just hasn't been clicking. We haven't seen, any of our forwards, strikers really excel other than Richarlison. Tell showed moments. Solanke has barely played. But today we got it spot on. And bearing in mind today in the 11, we had no Bergvall. We had no Maddison. We had no Kulusevski. We had no Udogie or Brennan Johnson. But the midfield was actually really good today. And Paulinho and Gray, that double pivot, it seems to be either Bentancur or Paulinho. One of those will play. And then you might see Sarr, you might see Bergvall, you might see Archie Gray coming. But that is a massive, massive win that takes us up to 9th in the Champions League table, which if we go and beat Frankfurt or beat Dortmund, there's a very, very good chance we may even, if we go and beat Frankfurt and then maybe get a point away from Dortmund, there's a very, very good chance we may actually finish inside the top 8, which is a fantastic achievement for Thomas Frank, looking at the squad we've got and looking at, the start to the season we've had. We're not in the best of positions in the league, but again, we're only a handful of points off of top 4. This season is so congested from 4th down to like 12th. There's only a handful of points. But make sure you go down, drop a like on the video if you haven't already, and make sure you let me know your thoughts on Tottenham 3, Slavia Prague 0. And the road to 10K is well and truly on. We're only a handful of subscribers away from hitting 6,200. Make sure you get over to the main channel and check out the Salah video. But I want to bring up, before we get into the lineup, before we get into the goals, I want to bring up the Champions League table because we're actually a point ahead of Chelsea. We're only a point behind Liverpool. We're currently ahead of Man City, but they play tomorrow. And we've actually got one of the better defensive records in the competition. We've conceded the same amount of goals as Bayern Munich. Okay, fair enough. The only really difficult game we have played is PSG. We played against Villarreal, against Bodo Glimt, against Monaco, against Copenhagen. And tonight we played against Slavia Prague. But for Tottenham to be even in 9th, I think, so far, is a really, really good campaign. We've got 2 more games to play. Borussia Dortmund, that's going to be a really, really interesting game because if we do actually beat them, one of those teams, the likelihood is probably will make in and around that top 8. Now, the other team we've got to play, Frankfurt, are one of the worst teams in the competition. Funny enough, 4 of the teams we've played are in the bottom 7. But that's not exactly our fault because we didn't choose the group. Slavia Prague, Bodo Glimt, Villarreal, Frankfurt, Copenhagen. We should, in theory, go out there and beat Frankfurt. They're not a good side. They've lost 4 of their opening 6 Champions League games. Bodo haven't won a game yet. That Bodo game is still so frustrating because if we would have won that game, we'd be in the top 8 right now. We had chances then. But tonight was all about 2 players. It was all about Xavi Simons and it was all about Kudus. I'll bring up the lineup up on screen right now for you guys if you weren't able to watch the game. This was the lineup. I'm not going to lie when I say I don't really know any of Slavia Prague's players. But we went with Vicario. Jed Spence comes in for Udogie, Van der Ven and Romero, Porro, Paulinho, Gray, Odebear, the man of the moment, Xavi Simons, Richarlison, who didn't have a bad game either, and Mohamed Kudus. And Kudus this season for me, he has been our best player so far from an attacking perspective. Like the guy just oozes sauce at times. He really, really is a good player. 2 goals and 5 assists in the Premier League this season. Got a goal against Slavia Prague. I'm fairly sure he was involved in the game against I think it was PSG, but he come off the bench because we went with a 4-4-2. But that was the lineup. Now, I actually think Gray and Paulinho did well. I mean, they had a decent amount of possession at times, but they never really looked hugely threatening. Every shot was kind of at Vicario. Romero and Van der Ven dealt with things comfortably, but he actually used his he actually used his bench quite well tonight. I was happy that, Tell come on. He's been added into the Champions League squad. I was happy that, Moani come on, Bergvall come on, Davis finally getting some minutes, and Papasar, because this game on Sunday, or Saturday, sorry, is absolutely massive for us. If we don't get a positive result against Nottingham Forest, like it just massively stuns our momentum, because we won 2 out of our last 3 games. So I think it is Sunday, actually, because it is, because they've got Europa League. So we've got a decent amount of rest between now and then. We've got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We've got 5 or 6 days, whereas they only have a handful. They've only got 3 days. And our 3 or 4 games we've got coming up: Forest, Liverpool, and Palace, and Brentford, Sunderland. I think the form we're on now, we should be aiming to win at least 3 of those 5 games, in my opinion. Now, the first goal comes from a Zima own goal. We had a corner. I have got no idea what that fullback was doing. He was one of the slowest players I have ever seen. Kudus had him on toast, on absolute toast. He really, really did. And I think when I look at this Tottenham team, and I look at moments players we've got, the amount of times that Kudus got on the ball, and his initial instinct is just, I'm going to run at you because you can't live with my pace. Not particularly great, that fullback, Zima. What is he, 25 years of age, Czech Republic international. He got absolutely cooked for, say, 50 minutes or so while Kudus was on the pitch. The ball goes into the box. It is an own goal. He heads it into the back of his own net. And that was really their only main opportunity they had in the first half. We dominated possession. We dominated opportunities. We actually looked, that's probably one of our better kind of 45 minutes. It really, really was. And then, we start the second half relatively well. I actually thought there would be a change at halftime. I thought Van der Ven may come off because he was on a yellow card. How that is a yellow card, by the way, is absolutely criminal. He's literally running, holds his arm up to hold the player off. The player holds his face, goes down. And then I think Van der Ven gets booked for protesting. Like, for me, I'm sitting there watching that. That is never, ever, ever a foul. It's never a foul, let alone a yellow card. You have to use your arms when you're running to build up pace. And he just holds him off. And it's like, for me, it's never a yellow card. Halftime comes around. Kudus scores the second goal. It's a really decent penalty. I've no idea what Sanyang's doing. He blocks Porro's cross. It hits his arm. The referee points to the spot. Kudus steps up. It's a really, really good penalty. Keeper got absolutely no chance. And as soon as we scored that second goal, because you never really know with Spurs, if you concede early in the second half or just at 1-0, we never really look like that comfortable, in my opinion, when this season under Thomas Frank. But as soon as we got that second goal, I was never really concerned that Slavia Prague would ever do things. Second half, Xavi Simons was really, really, really good. The amount of times he got the ball played into feet, on the turn, running up back lines. He actually wins the third penalty, takes on a couple of players, is brought down, steps up. Keeper does get a hand to it, but it's in the back of the net. And you're thinking at that point, that's a really, really good penalty. Sorry, really good bit of play from Simons to win the penalty. He dispatched the penalty, not the most cleanest, but that doesn't matter. And when you look at the games we've got coming up, I just want to look at our next 3 games, because these are 3 massive Premier League games. Crystal Palace, really, really strong at home. We've got 2 tough away games. I'd even argue Brentford. 3 tough away games there for me. I'm not going to lie. We did beat Brentford last season under Ange 2-0, but Forest isn't easy. They just took a bit of a paste into Everton. Liverpool, they won tonight. Penalty from Dominic Szoboszlai, but they actually looked half decent. Crystal Palace, I am not confident by any stretch of the imagination that we go and win that game. I'm not going to lie. I'd take a draw right now if you offered it to me. Liverpool, I'd probably take a draw from that as well. I know they're not that great. They drew to Leeds. Do you know what? I actually think there's a higher chance we beat Liverpool than beating Palace. Brentford, again, really tough game. Our January fixtures, Bournemouth, Villa, Sunderland, and then we've got the 2 Champions League games. Like, we've got, 7 games in January? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 8 games in January, and we've got Villa in the FA Cup now as well. Like, these next 3 games between now and Christmas, I don't even care about the performances. Just get as many points as we can, because we're 11th in the Premier League, but it's so congested between, if you actually look on the right-hand side, it's only 4 points between 4th and 12th. Like, it is crazy how congested it is right now. But look, I believe Thomas Frank's the right man for the job, and I've stood by that the whole season. I really, really have. Let me know your thoughts down below. Make sure you drop a like. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you next time. I am